I continue reading the distinction. I did one paragraph of this distinction, Spark 3, introduction into this spark and distinction of its own distinction is problem with people come from expecting they should be different from their box. The trap of expectation, so that's a paragraph 2. The trap of expectation is this. Anybody can make an expectation about anything. So what? Making an expectation is you assuming that a fantasy is a reality. Believing that your expectation is true disconnects you from what is actually so. By holding onto your expectation, you lose your leverage point for making real things happen. People are what they are, and people are not what they are not. Each of us has a box, and the box is the box. Expecting that things should be otherwise is a fantasy. No matter how tempting the fantasy is, a fantasy is still a fantasy. Paragraph 3 and the last one of this distinction. It is true that you are not your box. It is also true that you start out solidly identified with your box, just like everyone else. Shifting identity from being identified with one box to being identified with another box is a high-level possibility manager skill that requires training and practice on the same level of sophistication as learning to drive a car. Expecting a person to act in some way other than as dictated by their box is the equivalent of driving into a brick wall, expecting it to be a road. Possible, but not very likely. Not very likely. Expecting a person to act in some way other than as dictated by their box is the equivalent of driving into a brick wall, expecting it to be a road. Possible, but not very likely. So I'm reading this second part of the distinction, I call it introduction, into this topic of withdrawing expectations of what they really are and how harmful they can be. And there are shorts I made, 2 or 3, about actual experiments, how to take away the expectation from each of our friends and people around.